Welcome to the Dental Team Podcast. I'm your host, Kiera Dent, and I had this crazy idea that maybe I could combine a doctor and a team member's perspective because let's face it, dentistry can be a challenging profession with those two perspectives. I've been a dental assistant, treatment coordinator, scheduler, biller, office manager, regional manager, practice owner, and I have a team of traveling consultants where we have traveled to over 165 different offices coaching teams. Yep, we don't just understand you, we are you. Our mission is to positively impact the world of dental, and I believe that this podcast is the greatest way I can help elevate teams, grow VIP experiences, reduce stress, and create A-teams. Welcome to the Dental Team Podcast. Hello, Dental Team listeners. This is Kiera, and I am coming to you live from Voices of Dentistry, and this is the first time I've ever podcasted at Voices of Dentistry. It's like a first-time deal, and so don't worry, I have one of my best friends here. I just was in his practice, and he is so kind, and he's willing to podcast with us. He has been, I've been in your office for the, last 2 years? Has it been 2 years?
Actually, I think it's 3. Because we looked back at it when you were in the day before you came in the last month. Yeah.
Okay, so welcome to the show, Dr. Maxwell Johnson.
It's so cool to be here. It's so awesome to be here. I'm so excited. No, it's truly because it's nice. Like it's a great evolution for you. I think you've gone and kind of made yourself so awesome. You were awesome to everybody that met you, but now it's on a such grander scale. So it's so cool to see for you.
You're kind. And I really do. This is a fun podcast because it's just talking friends. I was just in your practice, 2 weeks ago, I think?
2 weeks.
2 weeks ago. This was, I think, my third visit, maybe fourth.
Fourth visit.
Fourth visit
in my office and then first in the startup.
Yes. And I think that's pretty fun that in just a couple short years, you and your wife have this startup practice. Your practice has grown exponentially. You have grown. And you guys, just so you know, Maxwell Johnson, I think I'm the only person who calls him Maxwell, but that's fine.
I like it. It's different. It switches it up.
But him and his wife are dentists, and they're in Tucson, Arizona. You have a great team. I really love your team. You guys have grown a lot. So let's just kind of dive into the last in-office visit, just so people know, and we'll kind of riff on what we learned. You and I learned a lot in your practice as well. So let's kind of riff on what happened the last couple of weeks when I was there.
Yeah. No, it's been fantastic. So you were there, Wednesday, Thursday? Mm-hmm. Wednesday was the startup day, and Thursday was my office or the existing practice day.
Right.
But it was so cool because I wasn't quite sure, to be quite honest with you, I wasn't quite sure how we were going to work it in both offices because this is the first time doing both.
Right.
So I wasn't sure if it was going to be the same content in both offices.
But I didn't know either.
I'm glad. I'm so glad that we had it all set up and you didn't know what you were doing. That's awesome, guys. Don't. She always knows she's lying.
I really didn't, though. That's a true statement.
No, because I think in hindsight now, it probably was naive of me to think that, but because both of the practices are such a different stage, the content and the training and things can't be the same because there are different life cycles in the practice.
Sure.
So it was awesome to see because in the startup we've got a team of 5, I think, including both me and my wife.
Yep.
So it's the problems that belie that practice are very different in its infancy and with the team that's there. So it was cool to get them going in the right direction, have certain things implemented that day that were things that they could take and work on instantaneously.
Sure.
And we have been working on now. So it's a work in progress. Whereas like with the second practice, the existing practice we were there now, this is year 6 for us as we start. And so the problems are very different and not so much little minutia problems. It's big kind of long-term problems. And so that's kind of been fun to see in its evolution as well.
I agree. And I think it's fun to watch you and to see, like, we're doing baby problems. I shouldn't say they're baby at the other one, but they're more systems and structure. And it's like block scheduling and how do we do handoffs and all the basic structure pieces that your long-term practice is working on and they've been working on, but you're far past that to where now, gosh, I think the big change for me with you this time was we went into like, all right, let's talk about getting the numbers. Let's talk about getting the overhead. Let's talk about how, as a business, I run a business and talking to you about running a business and accountability. And like, so I think it was fun. It's fun to see the evolution because I've started to change up coaching where I start base level of systems. Like first year, we're going to do systems, get all those pieces in. But then after that, I'm growing you in business and leadership as a practice so you and your team can run more autonomously on your own.
Oh, so true. Yeah, exactly. Because I think for me, that was the biggest thing. I think the business has done well, that my existing practice has done well over the years. But now as we've grown, we've kind of outgrown some of those problems.
Correct.
Now we're at a point where now it's really the leadership issues that will limit the practice. And I think that falls on me. So much of what you and I talked about when you were in the practice was more so, how do I be a better leader on the day-to-day? How do I be a more efficient leader? Right. And how do I hold the team accountable, and how do I put those people in place in the right places, and then hold them to it with what we talked about or what we want to do on the day to day. So that was awesome.
And that's a harder thing to teach.
I'm terrible.
I mean systems and scheduling. That's easy, right? Like, okay, here we go. Here's how you do a handoff. Let's do NDTR, which, by the way, you guys, if you want to give someone the biggest hug, if you've been impacted by NDTR, if you've been changed, you can hug Maxwell Johnson, because your office, you guys were adamant, no route slips for about 3 visits until I finally won you over. And so I had to make up an acronym so you could remember it. NDTR, the famous, and your guys is actually a little different.
Ours is a little different.
But the famous NDTR came from Maxwell Johnson's office. So let's talk about diving into leadership and accountability. And because I think as business owners, myself included, that's the hardest part, because systems are easy. You can like push a button and put it into place and it's there. But leadership and accountability and changing you and your core, I think, is the hardest piece. So let's walk through this a little bit, and what's kind of been some pieces that maybe have changed or that you're in the process of changing, so other people can go on the same journey, because you're not alone. And most practices are just like you.
I hope so.
They are. And I'm not just saying that because you're sitting across the table from me.
And that's, I would be the first to admit, I am the worst person with accountability. So for me, it's really been a struggle to hold people to things and hold the team to the things that we want to get accomplished. And for me, it's always been a perception issue where I look at it and like, I don't want to be the bad guy in the practice, or I don't want to be the dentist that has to get on people or get upset with people. So a lot of the time for the first couple of years, like I said, we were growing fast enough where we could outproduce our problems. Oh,
like, let's stop with that phrase, like outproduce my problems. I can't tell you how many times I hear that. And so many people do it. I know I do it.
Yeah,
like, we have all these great clients. And so I don't even have to see the problems that I have until cash flow gets tight. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait a second, why are all these problems?
Then the world stops spinning right then and there.
And so
it's so true.
Those problems are always there. It's just a matter of, do we take time to fix them, or are we out producing those problems? Yeah.
And that was the thing. I mean, we were able to just continue to grow at such a clip that the problems from the management side didn't ever come to fruition, because we were able just, as I said, keep producing, keep making money, and doing well enough in the business side of it that it wasn't an issue. But now we're getting to a point where little changes or small percentages every month make big differences for our bottom line. And so when we look at it like that, it becomes more responsibility for me to be better at the leadership position. And so this year has kind of been that quest for me. And that was part of what your visit was when you were in the practice, was how do I be a better accountability partner? How do I be a better leader to the team and get everybody to the points and doing the things that we want to do reliably? Because I think that's the hardest thing.
Totally.
But yeah, so now, I'm working on different things personally, training wise, so I can be better at it. I've got people in places in the practice that I'm now trust as accountability partners. We did some things when you were in the practice now that's made it easier with certain messaging apps and things to hold people in each other accountable, because now it's written down and everybody sees it.
Right.
So there are little things that we're doing individually to hopefully help the overall office accountability on the everyday.
Right. And I really appreciate that you said it in a very simple way, because it's not huge changes. But it's the small degrees of change that will do a great impact. The book Atomic Habits by James Clear, which, let's just talk about how cool James Clear is for a second. I don't know how this man knows me, but he literally, you guys sent me a book that said, Kiera, make every day 1% better, and signed it and mailed it to me. So James Clear, if you're listening to this one, like, thank you for that. I don't know where or how he heard about me, but it meant a ton to me. And I bring that up because it's the 1% change that's going to be a drastic change over the year, like you were talking about. Yeah. So I also, for you guys that want to know, when I went into your practice, the second practice, I didn't know what I was going into. Like, people told me they want me to start sending like, hey, when I come to the practice, I'll work on this. And I'm like, hey, guess what? I honestly don't know what I'm doing when I show up. Like, and I don't mean that I'm not prepared, but I'm always looking, and our team, the Dental A team, is focused on, what are your problems? I'm not coming in with, here's my set agenda, because I don't know your true problems until I get there. And so when I walked in, we uncovered that this was the main big issue from doing an issues list. We listed an issues list and the team said, yes, this is great. We're coming up with a plan. But the bigger piece is, how do we hold people accountable and actually follow through?
Yeah. And I will be the first to admit that I didn't think that was anywhere near where the team was going to go with things.
I didn't either. I didn't either. I don't know why I put myself up for this. Like,
maybe I think more awesome than I really am.
I do too. I'm like, we'll see where the team takes us. Why do I do this? Like, why don't I direct them?
I was like, don't give them the chance. No, but they were awesome.
They were.
We sat down and literally the problems that they came up with and the things that they brought to the problem board as we were doing it were things all that had to do with leadership and direction and accountability. You know, they were no longer the things that were when you were there the first couple of years. They weren't those problems anymore.
No.
And which was, like I said, I think I made the point during the meeting. I was just so happy to hear that, because those are the things that I feel like are the problem. But now we have everybody feeling the same way. So it's nice because we're all in the same boat and we all can look together and work together to get those things improved.
Sure.
So it was great because it was refreshing to know that they want that accountability. They want that direction and that leadership. And I just don't think they say that on the day to day.
Totally. And that's what so many doctors say is, well, if I'm going to hold them accountable, am I going to be the jerk like you were saying? Am I going to not be the nice guy, not the friend? They're not going to like me. But I want to just drive this point home. We think it's kind of like, you know, if I think I work every single day of the week, I'll be more profitable. Well, they've proven over and over and over again, if you take a day or two off for mental space, you're more productive. Same thing with teams. Teams want accountability. I don't know how much more I can drive that home. And the reason being is because if they know they can count on you to follow through with what you say, you're consistent, you create a safe environment, they know that things are going to actually follow through, and they trust you. It's huge. Big so like all these pieces, the things we're afraid of, well, by us not being accountable, those fears are coming true.
That just makes them that much worse, because that you think that you're doing so much more and they want that accountability, and when you're not providing it to you, then their trust in you, or their trust in your leadership as the head of the practice, falls to the wayside, and then they just go off thinking they're going to do whatever they think is right. And when you have 10 or 12 different team members, you have 12 or 10 different opinions about what's right, as opposed to the actual idea of what you want to do in the practice. Yes. And I think you have to look at it. And that was the thing for me when, after you left, I sat down and I thought about it. And, you know, being the bad guy, quote unquote, in the practice is so far from the truth, because you know, if you don't want to give them direction, or you are hesitant to lead, then you're really doing the practice and you're doing the business such a bigger disservice by not giving direction to the team.
Right.
They need to know where to go.
Exactly. And I love the idea of, is it story or is it fact? Is it story that by holding people accountable, that you're the bad guy? That is a story. You've made that up. There's nothing factual that says that this is true. And so I point that out as well. Like, ask yourself, is this truly factual, or am I just living in this world because it's a story? And so, go ahead.
No, I've read that story.
And I'm on chapter 3 again.
Yes. It seems like it's the same story every time.
Right. So with that, I want to actually dive into, you know how I am on this podcast. Let's give tangibles, if you're open to it.
Let's do it, yeah.
Of what you actually took away. So first steps first, we ran a traction style meeting. So guys, like, you know, I'm obsessed with traction. I'm actually working on getting EOS implementer status in my world. So I'm like truly EOS, not just reading the book and being a learner of it. But we started the meeting. We did an EOS traction meeting, and that's what built up the issues list. So that's how we even realized that this was a true problem. So everything was hinging on accountability and consistency in your practice. So then it became okay, what is Dr. Johnson going to do? What is his office manager going to do? And we had some hard conversations with the office manager as well of, okay, bottom line is accountability has to happen. So things that you alluded to, the fact that we did implement WhatsApp in your practice. I'm big on WhatsApp. I think it helps a lot. It's a team chat. It pulls it out of your text messages. You can check to make sure everyone saw it. People can respond to it. So like right there, if you haven't implemented an office chat, a lot of people do like iMessaging. I just think WhatsApp is a better communication. I mean, some people like Slack. Just take your pick on what works for your practice. But that was one thing we implemented as tangibles to really help improve. People were complaining or saying that they didn't have access to knowing what the morning huddle was, or knowing some of those things. So that's why we implemented the WhatsApp. But what were some other things that we did beyond that for the accountability and the leadership growth that you were discussing?
So one of the other things that was big, we had a system where we had some end-of-day checklists, but they weren't super efficient. I'd be the first person to admit the girls were doing it, but more out of habit than actual necessity. And there was no value in what they were doing with the checklists. So for us, that was the big one is trying to be more direct about it and be more efficient with those checklists and getting them to the people and having the whole, and actually, so the checklist getting them done and now being accountable to the checklist.
Totally.
So the team knows now, hey, look, I'm going to check this. I'm going to hold you to it. And now they turn it in at a certain spot. I check it off. We go through it. And there's a whole little accountability process that we go through at the end of the day to know that, hey, look, I'm going to hold you to it. And if we don't get it done, these are the issues or these are the reasons why. And we need to get that squared away.
And that follow-up loop is where I think so many people they don't follow up. And that's the hard piece with, accountability is not hard. It's not hard to put into place an end of day checklist. But the hard part, quote unquote, is the follow-up. But I will tell you, it's only hard for the first couple of weeks while you're building a new habit. After that, it becomes a pattern that they're used to. They're like, okay, this is just what we do. So I hope people realize when you're putting into place accountability or you're improving this leadership, it's a small hurdle to overcome for a long-term game of accountability. It's just getting over that hump. So I like that. Actually following through with the checklist, holding them accountable. What else have you implemented so far?
So we did the other big thing that's been helpful for us. Obviously, you talked about the WhatsApp, but is just a messaging board for the team, because we got a good sized office, but we've got a bigger team where we split shift the teams. Right. So teams come in midday through the day, and they don't know what was talked about in the morning huddle. And so a lot of the kind of minutia about here's how we want to do this. These are the changes we're making. Half the team misses that every day. So they don't pick up on those things unless they hear it from somebody else just in happenstance, or something goes wrong. And then it's like, hey, why are you doing it that way? So now we've got a messaging board or a big whiteboard that we have in the team room.
Cool.
Where we sit and write down anything that's out of the ordinary, anything that the rest of the team needs to know goes on that whiteboard, so we can convey that to everybody, and it's there in front of everybody every time they eat lunch.
So
it reminds them every single time what they're doing and why we're doing it, or what the docs want, or what the office manager wants, in addition to that WhatsApp. Because the WhatsApp thing has been fantastic. We film our huddle every day now. So we have one designated person that films the huddle for the whole office, and then through WhatsApp sends it out to the entire office. So the girls watch it on their way in, which is awesome.
Yes,
I'm so happy that they're hitting it. So we do a consolidated version of our huddle for where they film a particular part of the huddle instead of kind of the normal just back and forth conversation, but they film a particular part of the huddle where we go through the schedule, and they can learn what's important and what's not important throughout the course of the day. And then that team member listens to it on their car ride in, and now they're ready to go when they walk in the door. And it's been awesome to see.
I love that.
Because it just cuts out so much of the back and forth and the headache and the head scratching and the wondering, why are you doing that? We talked about this last week when, in all honesty, we didn't talk about it because I didn't convey it to the whole team. I conveyed it to half the team.
Totally. So, don't worry, guys. When I come into your office, I implement huge changes. WhatsApp and whiteboards. No big deal. And record your morning huddle.
Big stuff. It's awesome. But it's super efficient. Don't negate that, because it seems silly, right? No, I'll be honest, because it seems silly when you say it out loud. But it's such a helpful thing. You just don't think how much of an impact it'll have on the practice until you can really live it and see it on the day-to-day, because it takes so much stress out of your day.
And that's what I wanted to highlight, is that so many people think this is so simple and this is so ridiculous. But I'm like, no, guys, the answer usually is in simplicity.
Keep it simple.
It's there. And so if you can just follow through with those. Something else that I did before I left was I realized that you, Dr. Johnson, and your office manager had a lot of the accountability on your shoulders. And sometimes when we're juggling too many plates, we drop them. And not intentionally. It's just because there's too many plates on that we're trying to take care of. So I purposely assigned different people in your practice to stay accountable and also to build ownership. So the gal who does the WhatsApp in the morning and makes sure people's headsets are on, because that was another issue. She is not the office manager or Dr. Johnson. It's somebody else that I empowered, like, hey, this is going to be your baby. You're on this. Like, can you take care of this? She's like, yeah, totally. Because she didn't have 1,000 other things she's responsible for, that she can make sure those small pieces that are key really do get pulled through and done consistently.
Get done every day. Exactly.
And now she's more engaged. She's going to be more involved in accountability, and she was looking for it. But sometimes that outsider hey, let's direct traffic in these ways can really help make a difference for you.
It goes back to the beginning of the conversation. You just don't know what the team wants with accountability. And so now she's all about it. She's 100% in on the everyday, as opposed to just kind of sitting by the wayside every huddle, every other meeting we have.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. So not only are you no longer the bad guy, but your team's now holding people accountable, and it's not just you. So you're developing this whole culture of accountability by empowering other team members as well.
I will say, since the accountability meeting, and I've told the team this too, because it has been black and white from where we were at in the fourth quarter of the year as far as just a team feeling or team culture. Now that we can kind of have our conversations, hold each other accountable, know that things are going to get done, and know that everybody's going to put in their part to get the whole office moving in the right direction, the day-to-day stuff has been, the day-to-day culture and the atmosphere in the practice is amazing. It's awesome.
That makes me so happy.
I'm so happy.
And it's easier for you. So like we clearly did a good job that way.
Come home happy and see my kids and smiling.
Yes. But I think it's crazy because it's that little leap of faith that so many offices, and that's why I wanted to talk to you on this, because I know there are offices just like you listening right now. There are office managers listening right now that think, if I hold my team accountable, they're going to hate me, or they're not going to like me, or our culture is going to go really sour because now I'm micromanaging. And it's like, no. It's not micromanaging mentality. It's accountability that when we put something into play, it's actually going to execute and it's going to be done. And so what happens, I see with a lot of offices, and I mean, you're 2 weeks into this, so hopefully you've seen it. If not, it will come. But your life actually gets easier because there's less little things, like you said, the day-to-day. A lot of those things just naturally go away because your whole team rises to a higher level of insight, in intuitiveness, in intentionality, because they're not sitting around finding all these little nitpicky things to create drama over. They're rising to a higher level of consciousness, of culture, and it actually makes your life easier by the accountability.
Just everybody's been so much more efficient.
I love it. And I will shout out to Dr. Johnson, guys. He has become a student of traction.
I'm on it.
Tell about your on the treadmill.
This morning I was trying to, I've been reading the book, but trying to be super intentful about reading the book as opposed to just reading it by the wayside or reading it in passing. So I really dedicate alone time away from the family and the kiddos and the practice and everything to sit down and actually read the book and derive what I want out of the book. So this morning I was here at the meeting, getting ready in the workout and on the treadmill by myself, working out. And I had the book, and I wanted to prove to Kiera that I was actually invested in the book and the experience of learning that traction system. But I forgot my phone in the room, so it actually was probably a better thing because I was even more intentional.
You were very intentional,
super intentional,
and we can record it on the podcast, so it's indefinitely forever out there that you did this exact thing.
Nailed it.
But I will say, I think your office manager, we've got KPIs in place for her, so she now knows exactly what to be tracking. She's more intentional. You both are reading through traction together. For those of you listening, I think doctors and OMs, I don't care if traction's not your jam, but finding something to hold you accountable. I also was really proud of Dr. Johnson. We had a mastermind together, and you went through your numbers and even looked to see like budgeting and CE and all that. Like, yes, those words, like, oh, I just said the B word, budget. Like, that's a rough go. But I think you committing that you're going to hold yourself accountable to be the best business owner also has empowered you to hold your team accountable because you're doing your part. And in doing so, you're changing as a person, which then allows you to help your team change because a team is a direct reflection of the leader at the helm.
So true. So true. Yeah, I think, and like you said, the accountability, it's for me, it's kind of seeped into my personal life too. I think the accountability for me was just a big, big deal. So I'm just so pleasantly surprised at how much of a positive impact it's having on the everyday just in this first month alone.
I love it. And Dr. Johnson,
guys. Don't be scared. Just do it.
Do it.
Hold your team accountable because I think it'll make immense amount of changes in your office and the everyday lifestyle that you lead. Because it's so helpful just to know that the team wants that accountability. And despite what you may think, I think you'd be pleasantly surprised if you asked a couple of your key team players in the practice and they'll say the same thing. Without a doubt.
Totally. Being on the team side, that's what I wanted. I wanted my doctor, like, hold us accountable. Let us know what you're looking for. And then let's make sure things actually fall through. Because when you stop following through, I lose trust and confidence in you that anything's really going to change. Then it's just hot smoke. Like, okay, fine. he said this, we're changing this, but it's never going to
Give
happen.
it 2 days, it'll go away.
It'll go away.
Yeah.
And that's where you
So you have to. So if you're gonna be that leader and hold team members accountable, do it consistently.
Yes.
Don't let it fall by the wayside, because I think that's where you lose team members.
You do. You really do.
And I learned that now.
It's okay. It's all water under the bridge. We learned.
Team members.
They're like, shoot, I got to change something.
It's not you, it's me.
It's not you, it's me. Okay, great. But Dr. Johnson, I just appreciate you sharing and being one of my favorite clients. I love that what you said at the very, like just recently was, you took the challenge on personally for yourself to hold yourself more accountable. And I think a doctor, an owner, you invested in your team. You brought me in. We found the issues. And instead of you being like, yeah, I'll do that later, you actually said, you know what? I'm going to change. I'm taking this personal challenge on, and your team is following suit. Because when you, the doctor, you, the owner, you, the leader, take that on personally, your team will follow. And I'm just very proud of you. And it's fun to be a part of this. I'm so appreciative of you being allowing me and trusting me with your team, trusting me with your livelihood. I take that job very seriously. And then being on the podcast today, I appreciate you so much.
I'm so happy. I just so pleasant. Yeah, you're amazing. So I'm happy to be able to. I can't wait till you come back out in April.
I know. I'm coming back soon. So it'll be great. So you guys.
Super fun, guys.
Yes. So Dr. Johnson, thanks for being my first VOD podcast. Ooh. Voices of Dentistry, guys.
2020.
And good luck with the accountability, staying accountable. Right now, you're also building a new habit. So I tell people, like, stay consistent with yourself. That's where those changes will happen. So I'm excited to see you in April, see the changes that your team's going through, and seeing a whole new team when I get back there.
Oh, you'll be so impressed. Super excited.
Super proud of you. Thank you for being on the podcast with me today as well.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. All right, Dental A Team listeners, thank you for joining us, and I'll catch you next time on the Dental A Team podcast.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of our Dental A Team family. Now, we're going to take it to the world. So help us out. Help us positively impact the world of dental by leaving us a review, leaving us 5 stars. This is how we can spread it to the masses and help even more people grow to a better version of themselves. Thank you guys so much, and thank you for being a part of my Dental A Team family.